At the beginning of August, my husband and I went away for a weekend in Perthshire to celebrate his belated birthday, and we had such a good time. It's so beautiful in this area. This is Loch Tay, and I treated us to a spa date at Hotbox Spa at Taymouth Marina. And it's a pretty cool place. You can see they've got houseboats that you can stay in. There's further accommodation up the hill, and they offer a water sports centre, and you can see people paddleboarding. There's Canadian style canoes, all sorts of stuff going on in the water, and there's a restaurant. This is the spa. It was so lovely. It's kind of all outside and built right over the loch, and there's even a slide that goes into the loch, which is the coolest thing ever, and the main reason I wanted us to go there. There's a really massive hot tub you can see just to the right, and there are water buckets that douse cold water all over you. There's a sauna and a steam room, and also a bar where you can get drinks to drink in the hot tub. So it's a pretty cool place. There's also a fire pit, which we kind of needed on this day, because even though it's August, it got to a maximum of 12 degrees. And it was proper rainy as well. It was so chilly, but it was fine for us because we were all completely wet anyway, so it didn't matter if there was any rain or anything, and we could warm up in the hot tub and the sauna and the steam room. So yeah, it was just a stunning place for an outdoor spa. And even actually the weather was really atmospheric. This is me on the slide. Here I go. Got lots of loch water up my nose, but it was pretty awesome. And even though it was very cool, I had a little swim around the loch area by the slide as well, because just wanted to take in the surroundings. It was so beautiful with the mist in the mountains all around the edge of the loch. It was just very magical, and I just wanted to absorb every second of it. This is the view the next day from our Airbnb, which was really lovely, and it was situated next to a tiny place called Dull, which is paired with Boring in Oregon, USA, which I thought was amazing. Here we're just about to go on a circular route around the Birks of Aberfeldy. There's a map on this sign to show you how it goes, and we went across the bridge on the left and went up that side and down on the right, and I would highly recommend doing it that way, because we just seem to get the best views going that way. As you can see, Birks is the Scots name for the birch tree, many of which grow at the highest part of the scenic walk where the Falls of Moyness are, this amazing waterfall. This gorge was originally known as the Den of Moyness, which is named after the river or burn that runs through it, the Burn of Moyness, but it was renamed the Birks of Aberfeldy after Robert Burns, who is a famous Scottish poet and lyricist who lived in the 18th century and is known as Scotland's national poet, wrote the Birks of Aberfeldy after visiting this place. The Birks of Aberfeldy is actually a Scottish song, and Robert Burns wrote it to be sung to the tune of the Birks of Aberfeldy, and it has 5 verses, many of which are written in stone or wood around the walk, which is a really lovely touch. As you can see, we've just come across the first inscription here in the stone, and I'm going to attempt to read what it said to you. So it's one of the verses of the poem, and it's: "While o'er their heads the hazels hing, the little birdies blithely sing, or lightly flit on wanton wing in the Birks of Aberfeldy." The walk around the gorge is a 1.5 mile circular walk, and I do just have to say that it is pretty steep. Like, we got pretty sweaty going up there, but it's so worth it. It's so stunning, and the waterfalls are just beautiful. And this is a little statue of Robbie Burns. There was 3 posts, and each had a little head on top, and I'm assuming they're Robbie Burns. They did look a bit different. I just wonder if they're him as he aged, even though I think he died pretty young, or if they were maybe other people, I'm not sure. but I'm pretty sure at least one of them was. We saw some horses crossing the bridge, which is lovely. And here is another inscription of the Birks of Aberfeldy with a statue of Robbie Burns sitting on the bench, which is really, really lovely. And I will try and read it again. My Scots isn't very good, but here we go. It said, "Now simmer binks on flowery braes, and o'er the crystal streamlet plays. Come, let us spend the lightsome days in the Birks of Aberfeldy." So just a little bit of information that was on the information boards. It's really interesting about the trees. So the tree collection was planted in the 1960s by Bobby Masterton, a local horticulturalist with an interest in Himalayan species, which are particularly suited to this sheltered environment. The practice of introducing exotic species in Scotland began in the late 18th century when non-native beech trees were planted alongside oak, ash and birch to enhance the landscape. Creating woodland gardens was all the rage amongst landowners of the time. Conifers, such as those discovered by the Perthshire plant collectors Archibald Menzies and David Douglas, were also favourites. This sign says, "Here Robert Burns was inspired to write the Birks of Aberfeldy." And don't you just think it's just the most perfect natural seat you've ever seen, just completely built naturally into the rock. And then you can see, as I pan over, the views that he would have had as he was writing it, and you can see why he'd be inspired. It's just so stunning. Here's a bit more from the information boards. So it says that today the rich mixture of trees, wildflowers and the moisture-loving mosses and ferns provides food and shelter for a wide range of wildlife. The easiest to spot are red squirrels and many woodland and waterside birds. And one of those that it mentions is actually the sparrowhawk, and I saw one out of the bathroom window of our Airbnb. It must have been like maybe 2 meters away while I was brushing my teeth. We were on the first floor. We just had like a tiny sort of loft Airbnb, and it was on the first floor, and on the front and the back trees were surrounding it, and so it was just like right there, and it was so special. Here's the third and final inscription of the Birks of Aberfeldy that we found. If any of you guys have done this walk before and there are other inscriptions, because I know there's more verses, please let me know where they are, because I'd love to kind of see them all. But this one says, "The braes ascend like lofty wars, the foaming stream deep roaring fars, o'erhung with fragrant spreading shores, the Birks of Aberfeldy." And there you can see the biggest waterfall within the Falls of Mowness. It's the top of the walk, so we cross over the bridge and head down the other side. And yeah, it's pretty majestic. As you can see, the sun had made an appearance and blue sky was starting to come out all over the place, which was so lovely because it's just been so rainy for like the last 2 months here in Scotland, and I'm pretty sure, I think it's across most of the UK. So the main chunk of summer has been a bit of a washout, so it was so lovely to have it out on this day when we were doing this walk. Here on the left you can see the famous birch or birks that form part of the title of this place. Here we are heading down on the left-hand side of the gorge, if you're looking towards Aberfeldy, and you come across this beautiful vista that just appears in a gap in the trees. And so yeah, lovely to see that, because you're kind of enclosed most of the time, and then it really opens up to this. I spotted a lot of hoof fungus while out and about, and on lots of dead trees. So yeah, this tree here has some. It's pretty awesome. It's like pretty massive, and it's called hoof because it kind of looks like the shape of a horse's hoof. At the end of the walk, we headed into the market town of Aberfeldy and went to a cafe called Habitat Cafe, which I can recommend. The food was delicious. We both had soup and sandwiches, and I had a watermelon juice, and my husband had a dirty chai. And I don't drink coffee, but I do love a chai tea, and it smelled so incredible. It was proper like chunky, like honey covered chunky bits of chai, and I was really happy because they actually sold it in the shop. So I bought some because it was just so delicious, and it's just going to be such a gorgeous autumnal winter treat to have over the coming months. Really fragrant, really warming, can't wait. As well as the market, there was a really lovely shop, local shop called The Shop, and it sold really lovely things, and it had herbs outside for sale, which was great as well. And I do have to say, I did treat myself. I'm usually very frugal, but I was splashing the cash this day because I bought this granola and this book called Hidden Scotland. Well, it's kind of a magazine. I think it's a biannual magazine, but it kind of has that kind of coffee table book feel. In the middle of the town square where the market was, were some people who were writing in chalk, and I quite like this quote: "We are all travellers in the wilderness of this world, and the best we can find in our travels is an honest friend," which is a quote from Robert Louis Stevenson, who was a famous 19th century Scottish writer. I feel like I'm learning a lot about Scottish poets and writers. And yeah, there were lots of cute drawings and other quotes as well. Quite liked this one: "Where flowers bloom, so does hope." And the classic "Be the change you want to see," with a little B as well. My favourite stall at the market was this plant stall from the plant nursery Kindalachan, which is local to Aberfeldy. And the lady at the market stall was so lovely, and the plants were gorgeous. and I actually ended up buying 3 Rebeckias, which you'll see in a minute. The colours were just so gorgeous. Oh, they're just in the background there, just behind the dahlia. But they were kind of like a sort of like peachy tea stain colour, just really, really lovely. I'll show you this. So pretty. The beautiful flowers of Rebeckia attract bees, butterflies and hoverflies, and birds love the seeds, so they'd make a great addition to any green space. And that's it from our little trip where we found paradise in Perthshire. Hope you enjoyed watching, and I hope you have a lovely day wherever you are in the world.